The rest of the country is unhappy.
I don't understand what you mean the rest of the country is unhappy. Just a few young, disgruntled and misinformed youth.
How punitive can you be as a human being that a generation that never cared about politics suddenly becomes all noisy about you?
Why did the generation stop caring about politics in the first place?
They thought it wasn't important.
Thank you. So we have to make sure they realize it is important because, as we say, they are the leaders of tomorrow. So they can only be the leaders of tomorrow if they're involved in politics today. So we've seen them. They are active and we know they can show up and they can mobilize. So next election should be quite interesting.
Yeah, they say that, we'll take our parents' IDs. We don't want this.
But they are more. I was told they are 70% of the voting population. So why do they need their parents' IDs? These are not very intelligent kids.
We are hiding the ID so that they cannot.
So you're still 70%.
So we don't need to.
Why do you need to? 70%. Do you know what 70% is? It is 20% more than 50%.
So which means you've made the president already?
Yes. You can decide and take up all seats. But at the end of the day, you will send one representative to parliament, one to the county, one to... And the same one person will just do exactly what the current one is doing. Because the only way a government can make money is by milking its citizens. Government has no other source of income. So the minute you keep lying to yourself that you can run a government without taxes, is the day we perish.
That's quite interesting. So the government needs taxes for it to run.
Yes. Modern governments thrive on tax. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. It is built into its existence. That is the oil that runs a government. I don't know who lied to us. It is not. Tell me of one government that does not charge tax. Even the Middle East, Dubai, the Emirates, with all their oil, they still charge tax. So like I told somebody, there are two definites: death and taxes. And in that order.
What will come?
Took you a while.
Do they have to be to the extremes where people have become dissatisfied with them?
If you are paying zero tax, any tax I try to impose, it sounds unfair. True or false?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let somebody tell me I used to pay 16%. You're now charging me 25%. But now you're telling me I used to pay 0%. So even if I charge you 1%, it will sound punitive.
Where did taxes come from?
Taxes have existed for as long as man has existed. Taxes is what you pay to receive services. Done. And to cover those things that cannot be done by what we call private enterprise.
So if you look at this country of Kenya, so taxes, they're fairly new. The taxes as we see it today is something that it sounds very British. Would you agree?
It's Roman, not British. Yes. So even the British adopted the Roman concept and moved on with it and have grown. Mm-hmm. The Americans tried to say, no taxes without representation. Now they have exactly that. Taxes with no representation. You will pay tax whether you're represented or not. The fact that you wake up and you breathe, you shall pay tax. And then when you stop breathing, you shall pay a little more tax.
Where we put you.
It's called death tax. Mm. Yes. So I believe we're looking at this wrongly. Okay. Yesterday, I was giving a presentation to a number of people who work for a certain university. And they were raising issues about income tax. And I told them the same thing I believe I've told you multiple times. Income tax is a burden on your employer, not on you. The fact that you went to negotiate a salary on gross just tells me that you did not understand what you were doing. Taxes are not your responsibility. They're your employer's responsibility. If you're going to negotiate for a salary, negotiate for the net. Ile pesa itaingia mfukoni. So why does a government charge you tax? A business. Note, it does not tax you, your income. It taxes the employer because I have provided the employer with a resource I have made sure you were born safely, you are vaccinated, you went to school, you graduated. I then certified your papers and told the employer, here is a resource I have developed, but I need a return so that I can go back and develop more resources. The minute you look at tax that way, this conversation becomes more intelligent. If you look at it any other way, then really we are having a discussion between a knowledgeable person and a totally ignorant one.
You had to throw a jab.
It's very interesting, actually. This morning, while showering, brilliant moments. Showering is a very brilliant moment. I think it's water pouring from above. It's more like rain. So it gives you some new perspectives while your head is being hit by drops of water. And Kenyatta called us Nyangaus. Moi called us Nyanis. So baboons, eh? Yes.
Yes.
Moi called us baboons. Kibaki called us chicken. Mavi ya kuku. Called us chicken shit. Okay. Unfortunately, Uhuru just called us thieves. So it seems every leader seems to always want to throw an insult at us. Michael Joseph called us peculiar.
Yeah, we are unique.
No, peculiar. Two different words. Where Kizungu ni lugha tofauti. So, as you tell me I'm throwing jabs, I think it's something that comes with age. Yeah, it's that, an older person tries to understand why you're doing what you're doing, and he can see no intelligent way to define it.
Other than chicken shit.
Other than chicken shit.
As I was looking at taxes, and I was looking at how they started off being imposed, especially in Kenya when the British came.
Yes.
And I remember you once did an article on, what was it called?
Heart tax.
Heart tax.
Yes.
Which was saying it's the Mzungu who might have made you monogamous.
Yes.
Can you talk a bit about heart tax? Because I think that is a good place to start on this taxes issue.
Really, at the end of the day, for you to be able to collect a tax, there must be an exchange of something.
Yeah.
If there's no exchange of something, then there really is no way that you can tax anyone. Okay. So when you look at, we can go back and look at it even biblically. When Jesus threw the money changers out of the temple, what were they doing? What had happened is that it was said that the money that has the head of Caesar cannot be used to give as your tithe to the temple. So they'll convert for you from the coin that has the head of Caesar and give you a coin that did not have the head of Caesar. But in the process, they reduced the weight. These were gold and silver pieces. So if you weighed the two, the one with the head of Caesar would always be heavier. So what happened to the difference in between? That's taxation. Yes. Heart tax was what? The white man came, looked at this beautiful land of ours, and we could survive without the need to go and work externally or to sell our goods and services. But why did the white man come? He needed you to produce what he could consume, not what you could consume. So by implementing heart tax, it was the only way to get men to go to work so that they could then be paid in rupees, which allowed them to pay the heart tax, which was payable in rupees, not in maize, not in kind, not in anything else. And that's how you start moving towards the kind of economy we have today. In addition to that, what he did is he then gave those who worked for him maize, which was called portions, which we then misnamed as posho. And then we went and started planting maize, and we abandoned our sorghums, our millets, the rest. So over time, now you became a consumer of what was more of a foreign crop. So by the white man growing more maize than you, then he's able to sell you the maize, and you paid him based on the rupees he paid you when you worked on his farm. And that's how this has happened. It was what was done to them by the Romans. It was what was done to the Romans by the Greeks. And it's what they have done to us. So this is not an issue from yesterday. We are looking at 500, 1,000 year. Actually, it's more. Yeah. It's actually almost 5,000 years ago when some of this happened. And it happens. Taxes shall be paid so long as there is a need for a certain group to get certain services subsidized. Yes.
That is such interesting. So we were basically self-reliant. We didn't need any external. We didn't need anything else to survive.
Yeah, we did. That's why we existed before the white man came. Otherwise, we don't have died. No. That's what we don't think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we survived.
Oh, so how do we go back?
We ask ourselves, where did you go wrong? And then we start the journey back. One of the items people were screaming and yelling about was about us adding a tax on imported cooking oil. And somebody doesn't ask themselves, why were we doing that? We're doing that because we have to start becoming self-reliant on cooking oil. It's a critical component. During the Ukraine war, when it started, we suffered. Price of cooking oil went up 100%. Why? Because we want some guy in the Ukraine to plant sunflower, squeeze it for us and ship it to us. That's the height of laziness. We can plant 3 crops of sunflower in Kenya. They only do 1 crop in Ukraine. So our production should be 3 times more than Ukraine. Yet it is 3 times less. So we need to ask ourselves, why this obsession with foreign things? Yet our ancestors survived fine from what they could produce. So until we start accepting this, we can't start the journey to recovery. Until we accept we are going down the wrong path and stop walking, we can't recover. So all this noise by, sorry to say, these young misdirected youth who are busy wearing my usual issue, mitumba clothes, and wondering why they have no work and they are trained as textile engineers, just tells us that there's a bigger problem than we are addressing.
Okay, that is a lot to think about. Where did we go wrong? Because I think that is why don't we have, why is that, where did we lose that capacity? If we had it, what happened to it?
What happened to it is we started asking each other whether the clothes we are wearing are imported or local.
There's something you said which was quite interesting, which is also like why we have taxes. Taxes really meant to achieve 2 things. One, you said quite eloquently, which was to fund the government, right? So that they provide a service, security, roads. And the second one, which I picked, was it's really a behavior change. Is the government trying to impose, to influence a certain kind of a behavior? Because I'll tell you, when I was growing up, I used to know that anytime there's a new budget, the price of liquor or cigarettes will definitely go up.
Yes.
Because ideally it was to try and control or rather manage or reduce the dependency on these substances.
Yes. Actually, that wasn't really the main case. It's called a sin tax when we tax alcohol and cigarettes and other quasi-illicit activities. Yes, because really the difference between, and that's the interesting part, is that the difference between illicit alcohol and what is called legitimate alcohol is one pays taxes, the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
The minute the Chang'an lady starts paying tax, it's no longer an illegal business. It's a fully legal business because she's contributing to the tax man.
So what you're saying is we tell the Chang'an lady to register business
and pay turnover tax
records and pay your turnover tax.
Kusha.
Hamtasumbuana na
kuna mtu atamsumbua. I can assure you the chief will be hanging around to make sure no one disturbs her business activity.
But I mean, people, I've seen even people opening these, what we call locals, whereby you just go, you get a small bottle, yako kwa mtaa, but then you still get cops hanging around there.
Because by law, actually, you're not supposed to drink there.
Yeah, you're not drinking there.
Carry it and go.
Carry it and go.
No, carry it and go. No one will disturb you. Yes. Carry it and go. But if you're going to sit and drink, then we now come into catering levy trustees. There are other taxes that need to be, and you're not paying those taxes if you're standing under the street light and drinking. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now back to
the syntax.
The syntax. For a long time, and I think it's part of understanding the history. Yeah?
Okay.
And I think where I got this was in gold mining cities, towns in the Wild West, the owner of who bought off most of the products from you, the buyer, usually also owned the brothel because he knew after you found gold and I give you money, you need to go and have fun. So I provide the fun as close as possible to me so that the money I pay you, you just go and spend it and it comes back to me. The brewery was usually owned by the owner of the factory in a factory city. So I paid you your salary at the end of the month, or in America at the end of the week. You then went and drank alcohol in my bar. You went and slept, and I was sure Monday morning you'll show up for work. Yes. The government has just taken over that rule. But more of it was already a form of taxation, if you look at it. As we try to grow our economy, a large part of the people were outside the formal economy. Now, the only way we could collect any form of tax from them was for things like alcohol and cigarettes. Mm-hmm. That's the only way we got to that informal business person to collect some level of tax. But we've exhausted that now because a lot of people now are no longer drinking, or they are learning to drink other things, they're no longer smoking. So we moved to fuel because that was the other place where everyone sort of got touched. Then we put a tax on fuel. Then even that we realized was not bringing in enough. So we put taxes on airtime. Then we put taxes on gambling. All of these are ways for the government to collect revenue from those who are not paying income tax. So the biggest mistake you can make is to unpay, get charged income tax, and then go and drink. Because then you're being taxed twice. Yeah.
Income tax. So this is what government can easily track. This is what you're talking about, net, gross.
Yes.
This is what you're talking about in terms of businesses making having their annual turnover tax, and also tax on profit.
Yes.
What? There's so many taxes. And once you make these, let's go for the case of like an employee, someone who's employed, who you arguably said that is not your tax, it's taxing the business because of educating you and ensuring you're safe until the age you are.
Yes.
This person, there's a pay which will be deducted.
Yes.
One. And two, you still have this VAT, which is on every product you're going to consume.
Yes.
How different is that? Isn't that then again double taxation, like you're saying, with the alcohol example?
What we have is one is tax on income earned. Okay, so to you have not been taxed. If you follow my line of thought.
Yes, by your line of thought, yes.
If you follow my line of thought, your PAYE was not you being taxed, it was your employer being taxed. Mm-hmm. So the money you now have is not being taxed. We now tax you at consumption. Okay? Yeah, we tax you at consumption. But now that I think about it, actually, even at that point, it's not you being taxed.
Yeah. It's the business.
It's a business. Yeah.
But I mean, any tax on business, we all know it normally trickles down to the...
it's not. I think that's a mistake we make. It's not a trickle down.
The other option would be what? The business absorbing it?
The business does absorb it. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I'm selling you an item, and I think maybe our mistake is that we need to enforce the law that says you cannot indicate the VAT component on an item if you're selling it to an end user. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, there's a time on part of the VAT Act, it was illegal to quote a price as X plus VAT unless you are selling to a vatable entity. If you are selling to an unvatable entity like an end consumer, it doesn't matter about the VAT. But then if we come to that, you are told we're going to put VAT on bread. Mm-hmm. But we forget the part where the government says for anybody who is paying income tax, you can claim back the VAT. You went to the streets. How do we help you? You listen to one half of the story and you go on the streets, you don't want to listen to the other half. The other part was, if you pay taxes, your income tax, and you buy bread and you're charged VAT, you can claim back the VAT. Perfect balance. Am I the only one who reads? I know somebody told me yesterday that I believe that only my way of thinking is the right way. Yes. At this time, yes, because my way of thinking, I have read the entire document.
Good.
The rest of you are reading memes and using memes to make national declarations.
So, VAT is basically it's another way for government to collect more taxes, right? Because I'm looking at even our history. Income tax is fairly new.
We used to call it sales tax.
No, that's VAT. That's VAT.
VAT is new. Sales tax existed before.
Yeah, no,
we removed sales tax and replaced it with value-added tax.
So, income tax was established in 1973.
Yes.
How was the government surviving all along?
Income tax?
Yeah. The Income Tax Act.
No, that's the act.
Established income tax as a major revenue source. Then corporate tax and value-added tax were also introduced. So how was government surviving?
We had sales tax, which is what most other countries still have. Sales tax is charged on the producer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But then obviously the cost will definitely be...
And also because we ended up with fewer producers. We have fewer manufacturers.
Yeah.
So if we were to charge sales tax...
So producers producing locally is something that seems to be the only way to go in terms of reducing the costs of a lot of items.
Yes.
During this period when we were reducing, the producers were reducing. What was happening? Why were we losing producers?
Well, we went to look for money at the World Bank.
Okay.
When we had something we called the Structural Adjustment Program. I think it was 1992 or 94, somewhere around there. And what they told us is that we must open up our markets to importation. But for me, what I simply say is that all that our government needed to do was to come around and tell us, just don't buy the product. We are open. We are not going to stop you from importing an item. You want to bring in Kellogg's, bring. But we sensitize our people to tell them, this imported product is coming to kill your local industry. So don't buy it. So that's part of it. To me, it's the more educated we have become, the less intelligent we are getting. Because that is a very simple understanding of how do you, don't stop it. That you're told, no, I'm not banning you from bringing in Kellogg's. But I'm going to sensitize my people not to buy the product. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that restructuring period that required us to get some money from World Bank? What was...
We had become dependent on certain products. Our teas and coffees, our cash crops. But then we are starting to import in very large numbers. Then what happened is...
Were we importing or exporting tea and coffee?
We're exporting tea and coffee and then using the money to import other things.
But at that point, if from what you said previously, you said that due to this facility we were to get from the World Bank, that is what forced us to open up our markets.
Yes, but our markets for other goods. So basically what it was is we were producing most of our other goods and they had no competition from imports. Now we're told we need to allow those goods to be imported.
Okay.
What that then ended up doing is, like we're saying, it killed local industries. Yeah. Then the coffee we were exporting and the tea, the cash crops we were exporting, the money we were generating was not good, it was not sufficient. Yes. So the imbalance is what ended up getting us having to go looking for funding. And when you go looking for funding to the IMF, the first thing they tell you is devalue your shilling. I've never understood it. Somebody like Ndi will tell me I need to go into economics class to PhD level. But it makes no sense why we borrow $1, which comes in exchanging at 10 shillings. Then we are told after you've borrowed, you reduce the value of your shilling so that it's not 10 shillings that can buy $1, it's 20 shillings that can buy $1.
That's paying the loan twice.
You're paying the loan twice, yes. But for some reason, some economists tell me that's how you have to do it. But the question is always, yes, if you're going to borrow, then you're really at the mercy of the lender.
That has not changed. Because if you look at even what the young guys who are complaining is, it appears that this bill has a lot of, or even the new restructuring taxes that we've seen ever since the administration came in, it seems to be having a lot of fingerprints from the IMF.
Yes, and this for the first time, these are fingerprints that are supposed to make us more self-reliant.
That's what I don't get.
Let's look at the simple one of vegetable oil.
Yeah.
Okay. So we say there'll be a tax on imported vegetable oils. What would that have done?
Increase the price.
Okay.
Yeah.
But on imported vegetable oils, would it have had the same impact? What impact would it have had on local production?
It will not have.
It would have increased our capacity for producing locally, because now if you produce local, it'll be cheaper than the imported one.
How do you connect the two in terms of capacity?
Capacity we have, and I raised it earlier today somewhere, is if we planted sunflower today, if we just had a drive to plant sunflower today, in 4 months we'll have sufficient sunflower to crush and make our cooking oil. So what we should have asked for is, say, we will enforce the tax 6 months after the date of the budget. But in the meantime, this is what we shall do. We shall incentivize you to grow local oil seeds.
Is that happening? Because, I'm all for
How does it happen? And you people on the street. The president now is too busy trying to deal with new fences so that you do not occupy State House.
The streets, it seems to be the only language our politicians understand. So we have to use it.
They were busy having their debate while people were throwing stones. They were totally oblivious. So I don't know how you expected that to make. You can claim that made a change.
As I was looking at this, the other tax which was quite. So this is where sometimes I pick a bone with this whole tax issue. It's like it's like a full cycle. Like you said, this is more than death. Yeah. So you get paid.
Yes.
Going by the logic of the masses, you get paid your gross income. The government takes income tax, right? This is what you've worked. This is what you've earned. You get tax on it.
Yes.
Makes sense. Okay, fine. I made these. Let's give Caesar a bit of what he needs to keep the lights on, so that when I'm walking on the streets, at least I can see who's coming.
Yes.
Okay. I have a good road that will take me all the way to where I'm going. Fair enough. I take that money. Now I start budgeting my own expenses and how I'm going to survive this month.
Okay.
So I go buy something. I pay another tax, which we call VAT. Now I say, okay, because I need to think about my future, I decide, let me put some money away for a rainy day. Then there is a withholding tax on interest and on the savings.
Yes.
Okay. I decide, okay, fine. Let me send my mom some money so that she can also. There is a tax on that transaction. There is a levy.
Yes.
On the transaction. So it's like, so I decided, okay, fine. I've saved enough. Let me go try and start a business. I need to first of all pay a lot of other licenses to get started. And then the moment I make even to get raw materials to run that business, I need to pay another tax. It's wild.
Okay. Let's look at it this way. Let's assume we remove all VAT. All VAT, no VAT. There's no VAT.
Yeah.
Okay. There's corporate tax. There's other taxes. Okay. So your salary has been taxed. One tax. What do you do with the money that you now have? Will you still spend it?
Yeah.
Will you raise an issue that it's expensive? Or you'll just spend. You'll buy your bread. There's no VAT, so you're fine.
So, but I'll have more disposable income. I'll have more to save.
Fine.
I'll have more to.
fine. So you believe that the reason you don't have disposable income is because the government has collected as VAT.
The thing is, let's agree on one thing. Tax reduces your income in one way or the other. Okay?
How?
If I'm to go, if I was to buy bread without VAT, for instance, it will be 16% cheaper.
Will it be?
Why will it not be?
Why would I, as a producer, charge less? If there's no tax, then that means I can make the full amount. I think that's what we're not getting. Is if the bread was 50 bob, it was 50 bob.
But you see, that is easy. If the business ends up continue taking that VAT which has been removed.
No, he's not taking VAT. He's increasing his profitability.
Yes, if increases his profitability.
Yes.
See, they'll get him still.
Exactly, but for you, you're fine. At that point, there's no VAT on your bread.
Mm-hmm. But you see, this is the thing. If that VAT has been removed,
okay,
by laws of economics, it's like the price will go down.
No.
Why will it not go down?
It doesn't have to. Now, you see, right now you're assuming that I have added the VAT on top of the product.
Didn't we have something like that when the government zero rated on unga and the prices of unga went down?
Zero rate is another animal. But you ask yourself, why are you still going to buy unga? Mm-hmm. So if it's zero rated, did the price come down?
Yeah, it went down.
No, it didn't.
I remember, okay, unless you can jog my memory, but I remember at the time flour was quite expensive.
No, that had nothing to do with
that was political.
That was because we had not grown enough maize. It's the dollar. Listen, it's the dollar that moved. The dollar moved and we paid more for maize, for maize flour, because we were importing maize. You see, again, this is where it gets to. If we weren't imported the maize, then we would not be susceptible to the dollar moving.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
That's a conversation we should be having. But instead, we want to say, no, but the dollar moved because X. No, the dollar moves if we have an imbalance of trade. If we're importing more than we are shipping, than we're exporting, the dollar will move. But if you plant maize yourself, it's not dependent on the dollar.
The dollar.
Yeah. Even though the Kenyan one, everything is dependent on the dollar.
Yeah, that's
even chickens from Gashie which lay eggs. If the dollar goes up, the cost of the Gashie egg goes up. How that happens?
We don't know.
I don't know.
That I also don't know. That I agree.
So what I'm getting to is this: if the item was 50 shillings,
okay.
If I didn't tell you there was VAT, would you pay the 50 shillings?
Yeah.
Okay. If I told you that I'm charging you 50 shillings, but a percentage of it is VAT, why is that an issue then?
Does VAT have an impact on the price?
Depends.
If today you go get your fuel
and you remove VAT, see, the question becomes: is me as the business owner, will I, if you remove the VAT, will I reduce my price by that amount, or will I increase my cost, my price? Nothing stops me from increasing the price.
Yeah. But at that point, the price. What I'm trying to understand is, and I need you to help me with this, is do taxes, especially VAT, do they have an impact on the final cost of the product? And you talked about sales tax and everything. Do they have an impact? I don't know if you have any receipt. Can you pull out anything? Did you have Java? Whatever it is, can you pull it and look at the receipt and see?
I think what we're looking at here is the wrong way around. Okay. The VAT is being charged on the business. Again, just like the PAYE is being charged on your employer, you've now gone to your supplier and you've taken responsibility for their obligation to pay a percentage of the sale as tax. And it's called value added, which means it's not on the full cost of the item. It is on the value addition.
Okay.
Yes. So again, this is another tax that the consumer is taking upon themselves, which is not their expense.
Let me see what KRA is saying. They're saying value-added tax is charged on supply of taxable goods or services made or provided in Kenya and on importation of taxable goods or services into Kenya. While companies and partnerships can voluntarily register for VAT, they must register if their annual revenue exceeds 5 million. To facilitate compliance, KRA appoints agents. So it is on the supply.
It's not on the consumer. It does not say VAT shall be charged on the consumer. It doesn't.
So what is the significance of this tax?
It's tax. Government must tax.
Okay.
And I've always told, and I even tell business owners, the government has two types of interest in your business.
Mm-hmm.
One, they are a common shareholder.
30%.
30%. So they share profit with you. Then they have preferential shares, which earn a 16%
interest.
Return on turnover.
On every year.
Yes.
It's actually on sales.
Yes, 60%.
Yeah.
Listen.
So the government ends up making 46%.
No, it's actually more. So, but let's
just for sake of argument.
For sake of argument, they make 46%. But you see, these are two different taxes, incomes.
That's
for
quite
government.
creative.
Yes. One is on profits. If you don't make a profit, the government doesn't make money. But so long as you sell at a profit, we make at that point first before we deal with you as an owner. We first deal with you as a preferential shareholder. Now, if we look at things that way, and which is what I would expect, that the 20% of young people who are throwing stones yesterday and are doing degrees in finance and commerce would have been able to articulate to their colleagues who are doing English, mathematics, and international relations.
Come on, take it easy.
Yes.
Just goes to the point.
So
you don't have to.
No, it's because if they can hang out together to discuss this, I think when they are seated together across different disciplines, those with expertise in certain areas should be able to articulate the issues to the rest who are less endowed with knowledge in that area.
In that subject, yes.
Yes. And it's the same thing. You walk into a bar and there's an economist sitting there, there's an accountant, there's a tax expert, but yet they all discuss like they are clueless to why there's taxation. This is a major national crisis. The refusal to activate our brains.
So we go plant sunflower, peanuts,
sim,
corn.
Yeah. And that way then, God does not charge us for light in dollars. He does not charge us for rain in dollars. He does not charge us for bees to pollinate in dollars. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Something that we've spoken quite a bit on, and it always comes back to this, is trying to understand when did we stop this. Things like, if you look at our beautiful coffee that was being grown in now Nairobi's bedroom, it's no longer the case. Or if it is there, it's on a reducing balance. What is happening?
First, let's ask ourselves, did we plant that coffee? We didn't. It's the colonialists who planted the coffee. So really, we have no grounds to start trying to have some traditional ownership over it. And which is why you have some young person who tells you, I chopped down the coffee. Why? Because they never planted it. And that's why now we are losing the ability to appreciate deferred consumption, to build savings and to build capital and to build future returns. So if you had planted coffee, and that old coffee, I'm told, took 5 years to start fruiting.
Yeah.
But during that 5 years, you'd have to regularly till around it. You'd have to give it fertilizer. All those activities would go on for 5 years. Then you start reaping. Now, when a young person then comes and acquires that land and chops it down because they have no appreciation of what it took to build. And that is why the youth who were throwing stones yesterday or were demonstrating yesterday, they have no appreciation of how far we have come over the last 59 years. And that's a problem. That's a much bigger problem. So that is a generation that can comfortably take us to war, can take us to literally destroy, because they do not appreciate that improvements have happened over the last 59 years. It's very dangerous. I don't think we're looking at it that way. And instead we have people running around saying, the Gen Zs are finally woken up. No, they have yet to wake up. They are further in slumber now than they ever were. And if they don't wake up, they will take this country to the dogs. So let's be very careful about what we are encouraging of this generation. They're supposed to be more intelligent. They are better educated. They have more access to information. But yet they behave, what's the word I should use, which is more polite? They behave less knowledgeable than their grandparents.
Where did your parents go wrong? And how can you correct that?
Today, somebody told me that I was discussing the issue from a position of privilege. And I told them that I have earned that privilege.
Ouch, you can be.
And that what we have is a generation that has a privilege they did not earn. And that's where, as parents, we did fail. We struggle to bring up our children, but we do not share with them the struggle because we want to spare them the pain of the struggle. In the village, I think they saw it. They saw their mother go to the shamba and dig and plant and harvest. And today they don't see it. You walk out in the morning, you come back in the evening. Fees is paid. You walk out in the morning, you come back in the evening. Rent is paid. You go out in the morning, you come back in the evening. So as far as they are concerned, you go to some place to just pick and come back. They do not know the struggles parents go through. I look at somebody earning 30,000 shillings with a family. And they walk 10 kilometers. They walk 15 kilometers to go to work. Why? Because that 20 shillings or that 50 shillings for fare is what they need to put together to be able to put bread on the table. Then that same child wakes up in the morning and wants to make it seem like there's nothing that their parents have done. And that is what we saw yesterday. That is what we keep seeing. Children enjoying privilege they have not earned. So maybe we need to go to the dogs. Then let them bring us back out from there. Then they might be more appreciative.
Are you saying we are... Because the picture you painted for me, pre-colonial, and the picture you're painting for me right now, I see the colonial period to be way better.
Yes.
In the sense that we were self-reliant. But then now you are telling me that we are way better in terms of... I'm trying to get the picture of how did the young people get to the point whereby we feel we have this privilege that we've not earned. Yet, when I look at the life my grandparents were living, for me, it looks to be quite the dream for me.
It actually was the dream life. But now we are no longer in that life. We adopted a new way of life. And this new way of life dictates that things will be done differently. And it's essential that the children get to understand that things will be different. You will be taxed because you need to live a totally different life.
That's the life I want you to paint for me, because and I want you to be what I need to make clear is people are not saying they don't want to pay taxes. Okay? I don't think anyone, I want to pay taxes. Like I said, the road I use, the lights. The fact that I can walk in CBD not concerned that there will be an explosion. All those are reasons for us to appreciate what taxes do. But what the people are saying is we don't want more taxes. Can we manage the taxes that we already have?
Let's ask ourselves, which are the more taxes people are raising issues about? Mm-hmm. I have seen no new tax that affects the end consumer. Tell me of a tax that does. The 1.5% housing levy, I told you, is not a housing levy. It's a savings scheme. The problem is that the government just doesn't know how to do its PR. And the sooner they hire me, the sooner we can get the right message out.
Do the PR, because that is one levy that pisses me off. I'll be honest with you, because I don't see the value. And the other day, it was even more frustrating to see that same amount was loaned to the government. And I'm like, okay, so you guys didn't have a plan? PR.
No, they had a plan. Okay, they had a plan. Let me do the PR for my lovely government.
Yes.
Unless you have a society that saves, it's difficult to grow. We've currently been borrowing for everything we need. And what the government is saying is, why should I go and borrow for a foreigner when I can borrow from you? For now, yes, the money was used for treasury bills and the rest. But with time, what to me, in my opinion, the entire thing will be converted into what we call an infrastructure bond. And all your 1.5% from you and the 1.5% from your employer, note, you will enjoy the full interest on it. So what we are saying is, let you save and also your employer contribute to you saving. Yes. So that helps us then to be able to be self-sufficient in certain areas. And so to me, it's not a tax. It's a saving scheme. And the sooner this government learns how to use the right wording, I think the problem is there's too much translation from mother tongue. And guys are getting lost in the process. And that's it. I have seen no other tax. The income tax is at the same level. The VAT is at the same level. So what has changed?
There were changes in like the income tax, they pay.
No.
So they introduced two new categories.
Which are what?
High, okay. They were the high income.
Which makes up what percentage of the population?
Yeah, it's a small percentage.
So then they can go and complain. Why would somebody earning 500,000 shillings complain about the guy earning $1 million?
Because they're headed there. What do you mean?
No, then what you do is you plan and ask yourself, should I go and ask my employer to pay me $1 million, or can we find another structure where I can take home more? Again, if you're being paid $1 million, I expect you're intelligent enough to avoid tax. If you can't, then seriously tell me why you're being paid $1 million.
What are some of these ways? People
get to $1 million, then we'll have the conversation. See, and I think what we're really saying, it's we'll even go to the US and look at Elon's $56 billion, and the judge who said it's obscene to pay one individual $56 billion.
Yeah,
that's half Kenya's GDP. Just to put it into perspective, one guy will receive the equivalent of half of what 57 million people have generated in a year. Okay, and what really the judge was trying to explain was, I think there's a level of income to which it ceases to make sense. Because what else are you really going to do as a human being with so much more? And that's the same thing we are saying, really. If you're able to generate for an organization the equivalent of the $1 million they're paying you in salaries, then I think you're better off running a business, employing 50 people, and then generating the same. At that point, you have all kinds of tax benefits. But if you're going to lazily sit in an office and earn $1 million, then I think they should tax you like 80%, because you really only need 200,000 to survive.
You know, when we say free speech, this is where we need to. This is where we draw the line. You know, last time you asked me kuongea mbaya ni nini? Ili kuongea mbaya. Because no, Elon. So basically what you're saying, so Elon was paid $56 billion.
Yes.
That is our... But then we have to also acknowledge the fact that he's not also been collecting
a salary
yes, throughout. And also that $56 billion is tied to performance.
Yes.
So which means if my $1 million is tied to my performance, then what's wrong with that? I mean, sometimes we need to...
Okay, let's look at it this way. What is he getting? He's getting $56 billion. Dollars equivalent in shares.
Yeah.
Yes. He's not getting cash.
Cash, yes.
Okay. Now, then let's do the same thing with that person. We will not give you $1 million shillings. We'll give you 200,000 in cash, and we'll give you 800,000 in shares in the business.
Yeah.
That way, if you grow this business by 10x, you will also see a return of 10x, and we'll only charge you a 5% withholding.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's happening. I mean, we are doing that with COPE.
No, it's only the COPs, and it's the only one.
But it's an experiment.
No, we had this conversation where I told you that of all the shareholders, of the board members of KQ, only one has shares in the company, which means only one has faith
on what they're doing.
In what they're doing. Yes. And that's what I'm saying, is that it's that. If you can generate that kind of pay, then I think you should ask for part of the
business.
Part of the business, yes. Let's share part of the pie.
There's a very interesting talk, Vusi, from South Africa. Where he said, the most rewarding I can't remember the word correctly. The idea was this: the entrepreneurs offers you the most rewarding return.
Yes.
But then it's also the most, I can't remember what he said, but his argument was, as an entrepreneur, you make money, you pay your staff, you pay everyone, then whatever is left, that is when you pay yourself.
Even though Vusi was getting it, he's then misleading people. Basically, if you're working as an employee in your business, you must first pay yourself a salary. Yes.
Yeah, so the 200,000
yes.
you're talking about.
Pay yourself a salary, then pay yourself a dividend at the end of the year if there's a profit. It makes sense. All that the entrepreneur needs to learn to do is to pay themselves for the work they are giving.
Okay.
Whether in cash or in sweat capital. But they have to find a way to remunerate themselves. If the business cannot pay you, then there's no business. Yeah. Get a job. Let somebody else worry about your paycheck. Yeah.
So taxes to Mamaliza, we have to pay them. And what is this? So I was going through some of these other taxes that we have. So we have excise duty.
Yes.
That sounds manufactured.
Well, basically, VAT is value added tax. So it's after you've created, but before you create the value, we need to make some money from you.
I mean, seriously. And you want to tell me that I forgo 1 million, then I come and start dealing with taxes on raw material, then taxes after adding value, and then taxes after...
You see, we train a lot of finance and accounting people, and we need to give them jobs. Now, if we make the whole tax system so simple, then they...
So what is really excess duty? Like I said, it really sounds to me like something that is manufactured. Something that does not even need to be there. and then we go to levy.
Yeah. Excess duty actually is very interesting. I've never asked myself what it's all about. Because I know it's how it's charged on airtime.
Goods manufactured in Kenya or imported into Kenya and specified in the first schedule of Excise Duty Act 2015. Companies and partnership dealing in excisable goods and services are required to pay excise duty. These include mineral water, juices, soft drink, cosmetics, preparations for use on hair, beer made from malt, opaque beer, mobile cellular phone services, fees charged for mobile transfer, among others.
I think easier is this. Now let's find out what's the definition of excise. We need to get there first, then we can hopefully understand where the creativity is coming from.
You see, they've already even we've not paid excess duty on data. It's not working. No, seriously, excess duty seems something. An excess or excess tax is any duty or on manufactured goods that is normally levied at the moment of manufacture for internal consumption rather than at sale. A tax, it's back. A tax levied on certain goods and commodities produced or sold within a country and on licenses granted for certain activities.
Still doesn't explain it.
Even Google itself does not know. Let me ask ChatGPT. That's how bad this tax is. And that's why I wanted us to really break them down. Because, let me see what GPT here. A tax levied on specific goods and services, or specific goods, services, or transactions. Then it goes to examples. Include gasoline, alcohol, tobacco.
What did you look for? Excise duty or excise?
I just went to excise.
So what do you ask? What's the meaning of the word excise?
I actually just entered excise.
No. You need to ask the AI a much clearer question.
So the meaning of excise in tax?
No, just the word excise.
Let's see what it says.
So excise seems like to remove or to remove from.
It's okay. It's okay. Excise. So this is what I said. What's the meaning of excise? Very specific. Excise refers to a type of tax.
Okay.
Imposed on specific goods, services, or transactions.
It means that excise can't exist without the word tax. Do not relate it to tax.
So there is a general use.
Yes.
There's a general use. In medical context, excise means to surgically remove tissue, an organ, or a tumor from the body. Okay. General use, to excise something means to cut out or to remove it completely. This can be used in various contexts, such as editing a document, removing unnecessary parts, or eliminating a problem from a situation. Yeah. I mean, that's it.
No, so what are they removing?
What?
What is this tax removing? This time I'll accept ignorance. I am clueless towards
I'm also clueless.
Why you charge me import duties, you charge me excise duties, and then you charge me excise tax, and then you charge me VAT.
Yeah. At least something we agree on.
Yeah, this one I think is maybe we need to go back to its origin. I suspect it might be the one of, you know how you go and have somebody slaughter a cow for you or a chicken for you. Then they keep the intestines, the innards, and the legs, but still charges you for the slaughter. So the slaughter itself must be the slaughter charge, and then keeping the entrails is excise.
An excise is considered an indirect tax, meaning that the producer or seller who pays the levy to the government is expected to try and recover their losses by raising the price paid. That's not giving me what I want.
No, that's very interesting. So, in other words, it's how the government
increases the prices
creates
of
a price, yes, and therefore increases how much more they can collect on VAT.
You know, that's the most evil idea I've had in a very long time. And
I'm just a messenger.
And I've watched Dexter.
Okay.
Of a person who used to plan how to kill.
Yes. Meditation.
So when people say the devil has left Kenya,
but note, we pick up, this is not a Kenyan model. And I believe that's what we need to think about. So why would somebody want to push the price of an item up while on the other end claiming that we do not have price controls? So excise taxes are really there to
control the price?
To control a price.
But that price is higher.
Yes, because I want you to pay more. I don't want you to charge less.
Why would the government want you to pay more?
I don't know. I'm here with you. I'm still waiting for my appointment. Then I can give my perspective from the other side.
Because this is for the VAT, there is value added.
Yes, it makes sense.
But here now is someone taxing you
just for
on raw materials.
No, it's not even on raw material. Because what it is that it's a tax. And I like that definition. I think that fully
Which
now.
one, the second one?
Yeah, the one that says
an excise is considered an indirect tax, meaning that the producer or seller who pays the levy to the government is expected to try to recover their loss by raising the price paid by the eventual buyer of the goods.
Yes. So the government...
That's a very regressive tax.
Yes. I think that one is punitive now.
This is extremely punitive.
That one is punitive. And it's well hidden. I believe if
I want you to agree with something. But you see, again, so this is coach. These are the things people are talking about. When you look at this, there's a lot of. If you look at there are number of excise duty being introduced, and these are the things that will eventually increase the price of and increase the cost of living.
But no one has raised an issue about the excise tax apart from on the imported vegetable oil. No one else. Everyone else has just been raising.
Let me see, because I was looking at this and because if your raw materials are from abroad, then you are in. But so some good things like motorcycle, the tax, the excise duty used to be 12,000 per unit, and now it's 0. With this new proposed, we have
on motorbikes. They should have taken it to 24,000.
Hii serikali ni serikali ya hustler.
Hapana, boda sio kuhustle, ni kukimbia mahali haraka.
Your story now. Your story is like jiongele. I don't want us to be lynched.
Well, they'll be on motorbikes, so they can't lynch you when they're driving past you. So how many new excise duties are there?
All the excess duties are around. So there's one, of course, on coal, which we have nicotine, which used to be 70, now it's going to be 100.
Okay.
So cigars, things like The filter. I like how the government is very,
Very granular.
Then clinker went from 1.5 per kg to 0.
Oh,
So we expect cement might go down.
To me, I've been buying cement over the last 20 something years, and I've not seen much of a shift in its pricing. Eh?
Where?
The 770 Leo. How much did you pay for it last?
So I'll tell you, I was doing construction time in 2023. Sometime in July.
Yes.
It was 600.
Yes.
Come October, it was 800. Right now I'm buying it as 850.
No, it's at 770. Please, you're buying from the wrong places. Look for the right places to buy. Shop around.
Okay. Now, excess duty to Mesema, that's punitive.
That one is...
That is the devil sitting on it.
Yeah, that's right. That one we can go on the street for.
Turnover tax.
Yes.
This is tax on revenue. You've not even done your expenses yet.
Yes.
But the government wants a piece of it. This is a tax I don't understand. It's like taxing capital, if you ask me.
Now, Dixon, now you have to be consistent.
Okay.
You said that the tax process is complex. We have simplified it. So just saying 1% of, it's 1%, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 1%.
Yeah, 1% of turnover.
Let me first of all read. Turnover tax is a tax charged on gross sales of a business as per Section 12 of the income tax. Help me understand this. I don't understand why you'll want to tax a business, even if it is 1%.
We've done the math.
Yeah, it's 1% of the gross.
Of the gross. This person, like I said again, it doesn't matter how much I increase tax, so long as you used to pay 0, anything will seem punitive. Anything will seem punitive. So we're saying 1% of turnover. Okay? Which means you don't have to hire an accountant, you don't have to buy a computer, you don't have to do, it's straightforward. You bought potatoes at 50 bob, you sold the potatoes at 100 shillings, you pay the government 1 shilling.
And then you pay them again 30%.
No, there's no 30% if you do on turnover tax.
No. See, after you've done your calculation, remove the expenses.
There's none. For turnover tax, the final tax.
Okay.
Yes.
I need you to continue this.
Yeah. It's a final tax. It's 1% and we're done.
How is it?
And if we do the other way, it's actually cheaper than if you follow the other route. If you end up paying the 30%. I've done it with a 30% margin and assuming 40% taxes.
Any income that is subject to a final TOT does not apply to persons with business income below $1 million and above 50 million. Rental income, management, professional and trading fees, any income that is subject to a final withholding tax under the Income Tax Act. So if I did, so the maximum is 50. I did my gross revenue was 40 million. Okay? Yes. So I give the government 4 million, which is 1%. No, 400,000. Is it 400? Yeah.
Wait. Your turnover was what?
40.
So you give the government 1%.
Yeah, 1%.
Yeah.
That'll be 400.
Yeah.
400,000. Okay? I remove my expenses. I'm still left with 18 million as profit.
Yes.
Are you telling me the government is not going to come for 30%?
No.
I need to verify that.
It's verified.
Here's my challenge with this particular TOT tax is in the event you are not profitable.
Seriously?
In the event.
There is no event of you not being profitable.
Your expenses might be higher than you.
Then you're not in business. Then get a job.
You don't always have...
What? I think we need to walk out and look at the guy who sells eggs on the street. at 30 shillings. What are his costs?
Now, I just want to verify the
turnover tax is a final tax.
Yes. I have to give it to you. Turnover tax is a final tax, and therefore a person is not required to file the annual income tax return.
And I didn't even need to Google.
I still don't like it.
Why don't you like it? Okay, here it is. We need to pull more people into the tax bracket.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint is that the process of paying your tax is complex. So how do we come up with a simpler way for the person who cannot afford the various requirements for paying their tax? So we bring it down to just simple calculation, which anyone can do. Whatever you sold, 1% is tax. So what you need to do is let's ask ourselves. And we can use our egg guy. He sold an egg for 30 bob. And a turnover tax, how much does he pay in taxes?
Say that again. He paid what?
He sold an egg for 30 shillings. So what does his turnover?
3 bob.
So 3 bob. So he pays 3 shillings in?
Actually, 0.3.
It's 3%.
1%.
Yeah. It's actually 1%.
Yeah. So that is going to be 3 cents.
30 cents.
30 cents, yes.
It's 30 cents, okay?
Yes, correct.
So now let's do it the other way. He sold an egg for 30 shillings. His cost is 15 shillings. Okay? That's down to 15 shillings.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He has other unrelated costs of another 5 shillings. So he's remaining with a profit of
10 bob.
10 bob. Then he pays 30%?
30% of the 10 bob.
Of the 10 bob. That's how much? It's 3 shillings.
3 shillings.
So who's paying more tax?
The income tax.
Yes.
So the whole idea behind the tax, the turnover tax, is to try and bring a number of different people into the tax system.
Yes, into the tax system without complicating their lives. Yes.
How much is the government paying you to?
I think the reason they have not offered me a job is they've realized I'll be too expensive. Because for the quality of defense I put out there, I believe it's priceless. I think you need to know in what dispensation you exist. And if you don't, then you end up getting into all kinds of confused, stressful situations when you don't need to. And that's what we need more of. And I think we've had this conversation before where I say we need to get back to thinking. That's our problem. And until we do, we cannot grow and develop the so-called middle class. Because the middle class is really somebody who is able to have time to think and look at things objectively. That's why we only have a middle income and a high income, but no one who is doing any thinking. That's our problem.
I thought when I was looking at this, it was like, in one of our previous conversations, we said we need a revolution. And I was like, whoa, coach will be excited. The young people have decided to take this up. They've decided to form the middle class.
Now,
what is missing?
Playing your part in paying that tax. Then coming up and questioning the tax. But not questioning the tax and saying I will not pay the tax until it is explained to me. This is not a chicken and egg situation. This is a straightforward thing of a chicken and an egg. The chicken lays an egg, I sell the egg. Trying to ask the chicken to justify how it came up with the egg before I feed it.
But then what's the whole point of public participation? I think that was the whole point.
Public participation, again, we don't even do that. And that's why I'm saying if we're going to do public participation, let's put a threshold. If it's a constituency, if a ward has 30,000 registered voters, public participation should be 10%. Yeah. Currently, public participation has no threshold. Yeah. I have been in public participation events where we were 20 of us and we made decisions for 30,000 voters and 300,000 people. Yes.
So this is what I think you're referring to, the middle class not actively participating.
They are not middle class if they're not participating.
Okay.
Yes. Participation means you're middle class. Not participating means you're middle income. Done. And we stop lying to ourselves. The same way this whole noise of Gen Zs and Gen Xs and the rest, they're not ours. They're not our definitions. They're foreign definitions, which have a journey. The baby boomers gave birth to the millennials. The millennials gave birth to the
Gen Zs.
Yes, even though I'm told now there's confusion, Gen Xs and then Gen Zs. And more of that is the reason why the Americans had the baby boomers was 1945 to 1965, where the population, the birth rate of their children shot through the roof. For Kenya, that was 1965 to 1975. That's when we had the highest rise in population. Yeah. So if that's the case, then those ones born between 65 and 75, then their children will be millennials. So we say 1975 plus 30, or 1965 plus 30, which takes us to. So my children are millennials.
They should be.
But they are called Gen X, Gen Zs. They are not Gen Zs. They are millennials.
So these definitions we're going by
the Americans' definition of their age groups. And that's why it's wrong, because the generation that is called millennials is because it is said that the baby boomers brought their children up with a certain sense of independence. That's the independence we are seeing in the millennials. But ours were not. They were forced into schools. They were forced to pass exams. They were never allowed any level of independence. If we're looking at the generation 1965 to 1975.
Yeah, the words those are the people who walikuwa napigwa kwenda shule.
Exactly.
So those are now what you're referring to, the boomers.
Yes.
But that is what the Americans refer to
as millennials.
The boomers are in the 40s during the Second World War II.
No. The boomers were born after First World War.
There's a 20s, 30s.
No,
19.
After the Second World War. 45.
45, yes. 1940s.
45 to 40 to 65, yes. That's why they're now retiring off.
Then the 1945s will then give birth to the millennials.
To the millennials, yes.
So if you do 1945 by 30, that will be 70s.
Yes.
But then the millennials are like the guys who are in their 30s.
No,
like in Assisi.
That's what I keep hearing you people calling each other.
So what would you call me? A Generation Z?
No, you're not. You're actually part of. You're after 75.
Yes.
No, but the question is, when were your parents born?
60s.
Before 65?
Don't know. 65, and the other one 55.
Yeah. So those were pre-baby boomers. Because our baby boomers are 65, 1965 to 1975. If we use the definition of a boomer, what's a boomer? It's a boom. Boom.
What was the significance of that? Why did we have a boom during that period?
Because people had come back from the war. We had found penicillin. We had
no. I'm talking about
same thing. We basically had started getting more affluent. We were vaccinating more people. More children were surviving.
Because this is after independence.
Yes, 65.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's when we started a major rollout of healthcare and that's why we had the boom. And the same thing happened in 45.
So if you were to reclassify and do everything for our generation, because actually you're right. I mean, if it is the 1960s, so 50 years, that is what? 1990s.
Yes.
So the kids born in 1990s are actually millennials.
Those are the millennials.
Yeah. That's accurate. I fall in that category of millennials.
Yeah. But were you brought up with parents who allowed you independence? Were you brought up with a computer in the house? Were you brought up with...
your door?
No, there was none. It wasn't there.
We could not have... I mean, I saw a computer first when I was what? Yeah, but we didn't. I mean,
But actually, no. But if we think about it, no, because the baby boomer
what really defines
period was 20 years. So if we do the same, you can actually check the population growth rate of Kenya from 1960 to present, and you'll see where the boom, the explosion happened. And then we were hit by. Actually, ours lasted shorter because then the whole family planning thing kicked in.
This is quite interesting. So this is data that we need to go deeper and understand.
Yes.
In the 1960s, in 1961, we were at 7.72 births per woman. Oh, this is crazy. Then we went, so the shoot, actually you're right, because at around 1965, we were at 8.03 per woman.
But what we're looking for is live births and survival past 5 years.
And then we went down actually in 1976.
Yes.
We went from 8 all the way to 7.8.
Then it dropped. It's been dropping ever since.
Yeah. We went to 6. Yeah, there.
You see why I grow horns sometimes?
Now we are at 3.
Yes.
As of 2021, we are at 3. Will we have this country?
Which is why the whole noise about, I don't know, the youth bulge and the rest, when we can clearly see the trajectory is down.
And you know what is interesting? So what they have done, they have brought Tanzania and Uganda.
Yes.
So you can look at it, and it's quite scary. So our annual rate as of now is 1.9.
Okay.
So Uganda in 1962 was 2.9, which is the same as Tanzania.
Yes.
In Kenya,
we're at 7.2.
No. So this is the rate.
Yeah.
The population growth rate was 3.9. So we were doing better. And then we went all the way to 4%. As of 1976, we were down to, we were doing good, 3.2. Now, this is where at around, which year is this? This is 88. So we went down to 3.5, and Tanzanians were at 3%, Ugandans were at 3.2. Today, we're at 1.9, which is 2000. Tanzania is at 3, Uganda is at 3. Good.
Yes.
Tumalizie hapo.
Why, you want to go and help increase the rate?
I should.
Yes. But and those are part of the things why when we start talking about we'll have a youthful population by 2030, 2050. When we talk of Africa across, maybe. But the question is, what about Kenya? At that rate.
1.9%. That is, there's someone who I saw yesterday was saying that right now they cannot even think of starting a family because of the cost.
They need to stop thinking.
No, we can't just pop kids around like balloons.
Not? We've been lied to, and let's not propagate the lie.
Okay, tell me, walk me through this lie, because if you're bringing a human being to this planet, at least you need to think about how they're going to eat, how they're going to...
No, their carbon impact. Their carbon footprint.
Yeah, you should think about their carbon footprint. Don't start your conspiracy theory, just...
Mtoto huja na bakuli lake. I think what we did is we bought into that narrative that the world population was about to blow up. We won't be able to feed ourselves. We'll be overcrowded. But we already know that a certain type of life reduces the population growth rate, number of children per. But partly because we believe we need to provide our children with better than what we got. But we are not able to really define what do we mean by better. Is it taking them to a more expensive school? What is better? Is having them live where they don't have to share a bedroom living better? or is better that you can, we are told, give them more attention. But today, giving attention is not that difficult. Yeah. Those people who had 9 children, 10 children, 12 children, which is our parents, my parents, they weren't that badly off. And I think it's us trying to define what is a better life. We need to ask ourselves, is that really our objective? And luckily, Mother Nature will make sure that does not become the norm. Which is why if you walk out onto the street, you'll find a street mother with 2 children, 3 children. And what I say, if you look at those 3 children, they're not sad. They're happy. You'll never hear of either of those children crying at a corner saying, oh, my mother makes me sleep in the street. No. And which is why then at the end of the day, we celebrate rags to riches. Why do we celebrate rags to riches? Somebody needs to start with rags. Otherwise, then there's nothing to celebrate. Yeah. My take.
Thanks, coach.
Asante.
Excess duty, hiyo tumekubaliana ni evil.
Yeah. I'm accepting. That one I didn't know. But now that I know the meaning of the word, it is a way for government to basically control prices upwards.
Evil government.
Well, maybe we need to look at where the money goes. I think that would be the best separation for it. I suspect either excise duty does not go into the consolidated fund and VAT does.
They said like the alcohol one is to is to launch campaigns around ya kutry kusynthesize people on alcohol and things like that. Vijana wanapotea.
Wapi?